Give it one more minute. For people to join in. Ahead of time, I apologize if my dog barks in the background. We had a rough night with him. He's just acting up, so you might get to hear my dog out in the other room. He has a very shrill bark. And I'm watching on two separate screens so I can see your comments too. So anybody that has any questions or anything as we go, please don't hesitate. All right. So welcome back. What's up, Sedge? Welcome back to the live stream. This is session 2. We're going to be continuing with the character designs for my fictitious animated show, Camp Zombie. In the process of that, we'll be creating a show Bible, and I'll be talking about all the elements of stuff that have to go into making a show and presenting the show Bible to a company to actually get a show made. So, as we left off last week, I had designed a new character, Donna, and I'd explained who she was and where I got the inspiration for her. And she's a fellow camper, and I'll probably further explore her later on. Some more. She is Edsel's niece, so looking for family resemblance there in the design last week and things like that. But this week we're going to be working on a couple of the more sinister characters. This is the sketch that I did initially, like way back several months ago when I first came up with the idea for this. We're going to focus a little bit more on Terry Ann, who's one of the assistant counselors, and she is not an outright villain, but definitely an antagonist to the Vinny, the main character, and Donna, his best friend. And we're also going to focus a little bit, if I have time tonight, on the director of the camp, who is pretty much the main focus villain right now. The one that wants to, that you don't want him to find out about, Mr. Lurkin, the zombie that works there as the camp cook. So we'll work with him a little bit, but I'll show a little bit what we left off. So the camp zombie... let me find him real quick. That's Donna. Edsel. There we go. So this is a bit better design right here that I came up with for the camp zombie. This is Mr. Lurkin. We'll explore him a lot more later on. I'll change some things about him, and I decided maybe not with a British accent or an Irish accent on him. I think he actually reminds me a lot of the old man that was from the original Pet Sematary movie, that warns the guy about burying his pets up in the cemetery, with that kind of a voice, that kind of southern drawl. And can't remember the name of the actor at the moment. He played Herman Munster as well. But so these are the designs I came up with for the zombie, Edsel, Donna, and little Vinny, who's the main character right here. So we're going to not do that because I added a layer where I wasn't supposed to. Shut all these down. There we go. In the middle. There we go. So I'm going to start working on the camp counselor. And in the design world, there's a certain language that a show speaks with its style. And you want the character's look to speak that same language. So like when you're watching SpongeBob SquarePants, all the characters speak the same language. They've got the same kind of heavy line tone to their designs, and the backgrounds lend themselves well to the characters. Like it's all one language, and everything from the shapes of the characters to the shapes of the buildings to the shapes of everything, they all kind of go hand in hand. They complement each other. They don't have to be exactly the same, but they have to complement each other in order to work properly together. So in going there, like we've got Venny, who is, him and the zombie are kind of like the tone that we base the entire shape language off of for the show. And you'll hear me use that term a lot. Shape language is basically, like I said, the language of shape, the language that shapes tell you about a character. So, you know, for those that are younger in the audience, when you're watching a Disney movie, for instance, and a really good example of this is Wreck-It Ralph. Shape language is the easiest to understand in that movie. So if I'm drawing a villain, I'm going to be wanting to use a lot of angles and things like that, things that don't look safe, things that are sharp. And that's the best way to describe it. So you've got, you know, a villain who's, you know, or a nasty person, or you know, something like that. And that can be best described like, or unsafe is another way to describe it if you're using it for background. So Hero's Duty, which is the game that Ralph sneaks into, that's the big shoot 'em up game with the big aliens that attack everything else, everything's designed around a triangle. So if you go back and watch that movie, everything's designed around a triangle. If you go to Sugar Rush in that movie, everything has a very soft shape. Everything, you know, has curves, and it looks safe, and it looks comfortable, and even the gloop and the glop of the chocolate going around looks like something you just want to dive into. So everything has a definition of being safe and comfortable. And then you've got Ralph, which on Fix-It Felix, his game, everything is a square. So you've got this square, and that's solid. That's strength. That's, a lot of heroes are designed with a square in mind. You know, very blocky. You know, it basically unmoving. It's something you can lean against and rely on. That's what the square kind of represents, or, you know, large strength. And you can use that for a villain. There's ways to mix and match these things. So that's shape language. Another one to look at is if you've seen the movie Up by Pixar. The main character, the old man, is basically a square, and his wife is all soft curves. They complement each other and they contrast each other at the beginning of the movie. And when he loses her, when she passes away in the movie, she's kind of replaced by the little boy, who's this soft, round, blurpy kind of shape that you like immediately because he's soft and he's fun, and he reminds you of that main character and that main tone, that main language of safety. And he learns to be stronger as he goes through the movie, and that's, you got to start him off in this place of softness. And the shape of his character design does that. It gives you this idea of not weakness, but just he's got to toughen up. But for the villain, so we're going to work on the villain. I'm just going to put director because I haven't got a name for this guy yet. I haven't figured out the name for him. But for those that didn't see last week, so Camp Zombie is, I'll do a little bit of reiteration. Camp Zombie is this camp in the middle of the Everglades. I decided to go ahead and keep it in the Everglades. In the middle of the Everglades, that that kids are sent to, and there's a camp cook there who's a local legend, that the legend of Mr. Lurkin, and the kids actually find out that he's real, that he is a real zombie, and he's been living either in a cave or he's been buried or something like that under the camp. And he doesn't want brains. He turned into a zombie because he ate 6-year past due patootie to fruity espresso chip ripple ice cream. I think that was something like that. And it's a name I made up. You can watch the previous session 1 video to figure out, to hear about that whole story. But and it turned him into this dessert craving zombie. And he's a nice guy. And one of the things I've come up with since then is that maybe when he eats his ice cream, he turns normal and he can talk normal, things like that. But when he goes too long without his dessert, he turns into this kind of like your atypical zombie that is, grunts and growls and very minimal language, things like that. Never mean, but not as intelligent as he is when he eats the ice cream. So, and each type of ice cream that he eats does something different to his personality. That'd be a great thing to play with his character, because I'm looking at character briefs, and I went over that last time. Those are brief descriptions about a character that I used to start designing off of. That would be something else that the artist could add to the character, because I found that on the shows that I've worked on that are in pre-production now, I've added a lot to the character's bio based on how I'm designing them and new ideas that I'm coming up with for the showrunner. Like cool little things that weren't considered, and not all of them make it in, but some of them do, and add nuance. Those little tiny things about a character that you love so much, like that are explored sometimes in story and sometimes just hinted at. Like think about your favorite TV cartoon character. There's little tiny things about that character that you love so much that the other characters don't have. Those sometimes are found out through the art. So as I'm going now, I'm designing the camp director, and he needs to be male because the assistant counselor is a female, and I want them to be contrast to each other. And I'm playing with angles here, and these characters all have these either short, squat, round bodies and heads, or tall foreheads. That kind of represents the adult version of a character. So their head kind of grows kind of longer, and I can play with that idea as they get older. I don't know. French Vanilla might make him really snooty and wear a beret. I don't know. Rocky Road, maybe he gets on a mountain bike. I don't know. It's all different things that could change his personality. So as I go through here, I'm answering questions. For those that are watching the replay, I'm answering questions of the comment section. You can run that comment section. There should be a button below that you can watch the comment section live, or as it comes down live. So we're designing right now this sinister camp director. Maybe the camp has like mysterious origins or something like that. Like, why in the world would you put a camp in the middle of the Everglades? Why? What would that be about? So he's got. I'm working with angles, and this is a simple head shape. And I'm leaving Vinny up here in the corner so I can use him just to kind of look at what it looks like in contrast to him. Like, what does that look like? Maybe the villain has a lot of like those wrinkles in your forehead. My wife used to make fun of me that I used to frown my eyes a lot, and she's like, "Your face is going to stick that way. No frowny lines." And like, what if he has just like a stepladder of those on his forehead? And he's got like, maybe he's doesn't have a lot of hair. Well, yeah, let's do that. Doesn't have a lot of hair. And I gotta remember what the characters, like what the eyes were really popping and look like. Like they're all round. Some of them have pupils, some of them don't, like the way the color and the iris separates, things like that. I'm gonna play with that. I like the idea of having the color there instead of just a black dot. So, and I also talked about lost and found lines, how you can define a shape with the absence of a line as well as a line being there. So we're going to do that with his eyes a little bit. I'm just going to draw his eyes right here. Yeah, he's a grumpy dude. I would think of him as having kind of a monotone voice when he's talking to the campers, like it's a boring job and he feels like he has to do it in order to be able to do the stuff that he's planning, whatever sinister thing he's planning. He has to have the kids there to be able to do whatever it is that he's planning to do. And believe it or not, you'd think that those details would have been worked out by now in the show, and a lot of times the show's only half developed when it gets sent to somebody like me. So I'm just kind of playing with shapes, and I'll do a few more shapes of his head too. Look at this guy, really big eyebrows. Like, he's got these really big. Those of you that know me know that I have a lot of fun with drawing eyebrows on characters. There's a lot that can be said about eyebrows. Like, if he didn't have a lot of hair up here, I got to make up for it somewhere else. Or I can just do a complete absence of them. Maybe I'll, the next, like when I do another rough, exploring a different shape for him, maybe I'll explore that. So because right now he looks like somebody's like grumpy uncle that happens to run a camp. Oop. Sometimes the button doesn't get selected right. So there's a decent initial design. I'm gonna play a little bit more with him in different shapes. I like the idea of the tall forehead, so I'm gonna keep that, but maybe play with a much smaller lower face. And a lot of times I'm just letting the shape go. I don't have a clear plan. I just want to see what happens with the shapes. A lot of times I'll let the shapes take me where they're going to take me, and sometimes it turns into something really cool. Sometimes it does. That's those that like my McMorbidly portraits, my creepy family. I do that a lot with those. Like, I'll just start off with a really simple shape and see where it takes me. There's only a few of them that I've ever done that have a definite, distinct, this is where I want to go with this. And those are honestly harder to get done because I keep trying to adhere to a thought in my head that I can't let go of and I can't let grow. And sometimes the design comes out weaker. So I have to be very careful with that. I need to leave some kind of originality while I'm drawing so they can evolve on its own, because a lot of times I don't consider these characters to be coming out of me. They just exist. I'm just giving them visual forms so that you guys can enjoy them too. They're already there in the ether somewhere, you know. But I know too tonight there might be some younger members watching, so if you guys have any simple questions about animation or artwork that I would do, feel free to ask. That's okay. I'll answer as best I can. And if I don't know the answer, I'll be honest about it. I'm not going to lie to you. Yeah, so let's keep his eyes super low and maybe... I violated one rule. In my other characters, I kept the noses simple. I kept the noses very, very simple. So I don't want to go too... Maybe just keep it really, really like that. And really lower the eyes on here. Get rid of some of that. And don't pay attention when I look off to my left. I'm off to the side. I'm just looking at possible comments and stuff like that. And I've got him with a mean expression. Maybe he's got kind of a sinister smile. You know, and maybe he's, you know, plotting something, or I'm going to keep the way, the whole lost and found edges with eyes. Oh, yeah. And remember what I said last week, too, the more lines you put on a character, the older they look. So he's going to be older, so I can get away with putting a few more lines on him, like for wrinkles and things like that. With children, you want almost none. You got to be really careful, because the more lines you put on, the older they look. And it was suggested to me by a friend of mine that I also mentioned that this is a copyrighted idea. I put that in the show, or I put that in the videos so that people know that it's mine. Because you never know, there's a lot of people out there who want to steal stuff. So I'm going to just say that right now. This is my copyright. This is my original idea, and I'm going to keep it that way. So just tossing that out there. And if you want more of these videos and you want to keep seeing more of these videos, don't forget to hit the subscribe button below, and also if you want notifications, hit the little bell, and don't forget to like the video, because likes actually really help get the video views. So and that's all you'll hear me say about that. I'll just mention that. So be sure and hit the like button, because that's really important. So I thought of one cool thing. Maybe the big villain is actually also one of the undead or something like that, and he's got a different, he's running the whole camp. I don't know. Maybe that would be a big twist or something, you know. And he's got kind of a mafia boss thing going on, you know. Yeah, this guy's definitely looking more evil. Definitely a better sinister guy, and I'm more extreme with the angles and this kind of weird hourglass shape to his head, and you know, he definitely looks like he's up to something. And the other guy just looks like an annoyed neighbor, you know. So probably stick closer to this. There's always that first attempt, and 9 times out of 10, the first attempt won't be the character. It just won't be. Gotta be careful there. The characters that I designed for the show don't have necks. It's all a shape, so I've got to be very careful that he still stays in the same design language, as I said, as the other ones. And I like letting lines flow from other lines. It gives the eye a place to go. Even when the character is animated on screen, it gives the eye a place to move to, even as the character's moving. And the design style of this show is like all the characters have these really widespread legs, and you know. The other thing I learned a long time ago, and this is from another character designer named Steven Silver. He's a really great guy. He's got his own classes that he does online. I highly suggest, if you're interested in this kind of thing, look him up, because he teaches amazingly. I've been to one of his live sessions, and when he was visiting Orlando, he was a great guy. But he said you want to avoid equals. So if you look at the head, you've got, I'll do another. You've got this little section. Go to my default color set. There we go. You've got this little section where it's like here, here, and here. You don't want the character to be defined in equal parts. That's boring. You want something to be really exaggerated, at least one part to be really exaggerated. Avoid that perfect thirds, and you'll be better off. So, you know, you've got basically this and this, which is a perfect half, like his eyes are dividing it right in half, and this face is kind of right in the middle. So I want to avoid that a little bit. I want to maybe, let's take that out. I want to maybe bring his chin and everything up, and I'm going to use a little bit of a cheat here, and I'll do a free transform. And some of these tools you won't be able to see pop up because they're on my other screen, so I apologize about that. I can't change that. But I'll do a little bit of a squish and really change the dynamic of his face, because that's cool. That's important. And then I will move this shape up, and we'll see how we stand. He almost looks like he's wearing a little sack around his body. That's a good way to look at this. They all kind of look like that. They're all like these big shapes sitting in this sack. And I don't go anywhere without my coffee, so just get used to watching me drink it. And I'll look again. There we go. So it's not boring. You've got this, this, and this, and it still comes out to down here. So the main body shapes are no longer equal. It's like the biggest part is his forehead. His face is now, you know, oop, wrong layer. I do that all the time. You know what? Let's just do it this way. His face is now higher, so it takes up a different space on the character. That's what I thought. Boo-boo. Don't be afraid to make mistakes. Sometimes mistakes are great. Sometimes they're not. But I accidentally started drawing red on the. All right, so this is a much better start. Much better start. So, and we'll go. He's got a. He needs to have some kind of badge or something denoting that he's the director. They're all kind of wearing these scout uniforms for this camp. as is the I'm just gonna get rid of this guy because I like the other design better. They've all got kind of the scout uniform on, even the council. The council is like super up there, so maybe I give this guy almost like a little bit more military stuff to go with it. So he's got his maybe larger than average little bolo tie thing going on with his scarf. Everybody's wearing kind of the shorts. Maybe he's got a comb over of some type. Do people still do that? Have comb overs? Like, do bald people still try and hide that? I don't know. I see people embracing the baldness more than anything now because it's a thing. Might happen to me one day. Alright, so he's got a little bit of a lean to him, and I mentioned last week too, a good way to check your artwork to see if there's a mistake is to flip the drawing. So I'll look at it, and he's got a little bit of a lean, so I'm going to take and fix that, because you can fix it when it's flipped too. I'm going to fix that. And this is why I love to draw digitally, is because I don't have to erase the whole thing and start over. I can do this little skew tool when I've selected something and play with it a little bit more, make sure it's a little more balanced. Because even though he's exaggerated and he's a cartoon character, he still has to have a weight that balances equally. I might have taken it a little too far, and I'll play with it a little bit more as I go. So I'm kind of still figuring his shape out. For those of you that are really into animation, it goes along with like a flour sack design, and you've seen, I don't know, all those animations done by Disney of them having to test emotion, bodily emotion, by animating a flour sack to look like it's angry and sad and upset or super excited, things like that. And that's a really good test for just static artists like me too, like artists that draw, still form, like just a drawing like this, to invoke emotion. And he's going to have some super skinny arms. I think you're going to stick with that as a design theme, because they all seem to have that. And bow legs. I like the idea of the bow legs. They all seem to have that thing too going on. So he's coming off more like a main villain, but not the arch villain. Like maybe the owner of the camp is this mysterious being that no one's ever seen, and he serves the wishes of the owner of the camp. And that would be a big reveal at some point, later on. He's got these little epaulets, maybe on his shoulders. And he's an authority, so maybe he's got a clipboard, very same that I drew with Terry Ann over here. That seems to be the way I'm kind of suggesting that that's someone in authority on the show with the designs. So I'm also paying attention to my time, so we're a half hour in. Because I realized last week, just so you know, I'm trying to keep them at an hour and a half, because that's about as long as my dogs can go without making any noise. As my wife told me last week, so... And it is a little bit of a cheat to kind of hide that other arm. Like, once I develop the character further, you'll see the whole body, and when I get the design down a lot later on that I really like, I'll do it in turnaround so you see what he looks like from the front, the back, the sides, and at angles. That's called, in my world, that's a turnaround or an orthographic. That's what that means. So the character is seen from the back, the front, the sides, both sides, with and without arms, so they can see what the main torso shape looks like, and at angles possibly, depending on the needs. That would be in the story, the actual show Bible, after the show's been accepted. So this would all be something the animators could refer back to and say, okay, this is what this character looks like when they're sad, angry, or happy, or when they're running, the different body positions, things like that. How do they run? Um, and I'm always being aware too of where like elbows are, things like that, because on a normal human being, your elbows are just below your chest, and your hands come down to just mid thigh. And I'm still exaggerating, but I'm keeping those close based on his design, so it's still believable in that sense. Um, turn this up just a little bit. And apologies, I'm just working on. Yeah, I at least got to hear a little bit of myself while I'm talking that way. It's not so dead silent here. And he's got what I lovingly term as pancake feet. I like to do this, especially with the characters that I draw out of Disney. When I go down to Disney to create character designs out of tourists that I see walking around, I love to give them flat feet. I don't know why. It's just a thing. It's fun. A tri-corner hat could work. I'm keeping it closer to a real hat. Maybe there is some zombie from like the Revolutionary times that, you know, is seen in the place. That's a little too extreme, I think. Not a bad idea though. Maybe if that's the hat that was started, that was worn by the founder of the area that started the camp, or something like that. But yeah, pancake feet. And that's just simple shape. I'll go back and redefine in just a second. And I'm still using just the basic shapes like I normally do. Yeah, like the little epaulets on the shoulders that an admiral would wear, or something like that, or you know, Napoleon. So as soon as I get a pretty solid design down for him, I'll pull Terry Ann over and I'll start playing with her a little bit more too, because there's some mostly she's okay, but there's some other elements that I want to play around with on her character. Some kind of awards. You know, I think it would be beneath him to wear a hat. So I'm going to stay away from the hat, like the camp hat for him. I think that could separate him out from the other characters, because even the zombie has a hairnet. All right. Now I'll do something, if I have time tonight, I'll do something where I come back and I clean the lines up a little bit from the rough sketch form to help further define some stuff. Oh, you know what? He needs the camp logo on him somewhere, because he is the director after all. Let's put it on his belt buckle. That's a good place. For those that like my Macabre Morbidly stuff, I always hide the Family M somewhere. Not hide it, but put the Family M somewhere in the character, so it's always there. Yeah, there we go. I'm working on a name for the camp too, so let's give him cargo shorts. How about that? You know, villains gotta have pockets. I see a lot of cargo shorts on tourists at Disney. I tend to draw them a lot. I wear them. Be really cool too if we could see, like, maybe his scarf turns into some kind of evil villain's cape or something like that, and his villain's lair or something. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just throwing out ideas to see where things could go. Yeah, he's got a nice pointy nose. There we go. Play around a little bit more with him. Yeah, that kind of arms on the hip mean things is a little bit more showing authority. his shoes are a little more like boots, a little more for terrain. You know, he works at a camp after all. I always thought too that maybe he's got an older brother that, or a twin brother or something, that a twin brother that runs a very successful camp out west and he's more of a cowboy. That would be really hilarious, and an episode would be devoted to his rivalry with him or something. But as far as a pet, yeah, he's got an alligator. That's going to be a main thing of the show. He lives under the dock next to his house. All the homes, or all the cabins, if you will, including the director's cabin, are basically on big pylons in the water, so they hold the buildings up above the swamp. And there's a big kind of hill that sticks up out of the swamp that has the main lodge to it. So basically all the buildings are connected by all these inner walkways, and there's some swampy areas with trees and things they can go and explore. But I want it to be a damp, kind of depressing place full of these really interesting people. But yeah, an alligator would be great. I've also got an idea for the camp bus, which, if you're in a swamp, you got to have an airboat. So what would that look like? What would a multi-row seat airboat look like that's all crappy and falling apart? How fun would that be? So yeah, he's looking pretty good right now. Maybe he's got a military background. You know, maybe that'll play into it. Yeah, he's fun. We'll keep him for a little while. It's one of those things where if you like a design, sometimes it's good to come back and marinate on it and come back and give it a fresh look later on. Yeah, okay. So let me pull Terry Ann over. She's right here. So she's like the older teenager that's the girl that gets stuck being a counselor every year, and she really doesn't like it. She's not evil as much as she is just an angsty, dark, angry girl. Yep. Let me fix her size real quick because I need her. I do the size in comparison to Vinny always, because he is the main character. Everything needs to be in comparison to him. So, and I'll do the director down here, because at the launch of a show too, you've got kind of a character lineup to see what the characters all look like compared to each other in height and things like that. So the animators know what to do with that. How do they look like when they're running around each other? You know, you don't want to lose the basic size difference between characters, or else it starts to become unbelievable. Yeah, the zombie's a pretty big dude. So this with the ice cream cone here, that's where you need to go with him. Oops. So let's get rid of him. We look at Edsel. That's about right. That's about right. Edsel is the happy camp counselor. He's like one of the good guys, even though he doesn't know he's a good guy. So yeah, the director really does look like he's the guy that would summon the big bad guy. Maybe there's a voice that he talks to that's in like or a mysterious figure in the swamp or something that he talks to. I'm not, there's a whole lot of you can play with there. Let me make sure Donna's. Yeah, she's taller than Vinny. Let me actually play with Vinny's size a little bit. I think that'd be about a bit better, because he needs to be small for his age, so I think that works better. That way Donna works for her size. So I'll put her right here, and Edsel is her uncle. Let's move her over and move him up. All right, so there's, let me work on Terry Ann. Let me leave Vinny out. Let me get rid of the director. Now Terry Ann, there's a lot that I really like about her. A whole lot that I like about her, but I'm gonna work on her just a little bit more. I think she's got room for improvement. So let me create a group. And label it. Yeah. And she's her name's a little bit of an homage to, I think Carrie Ann was the name of the little girl in Poltergeist. Um, so that's kind of an homage to her. But I do like this shape. Like she's got a thumb shape to her body, just like Edsel does, and you've got the younger you are in this series, the more basic your shape is, and that's what I'm trying to convey. You get a little bit more complicated as you get older, just like regular people do. So I need to have a little bit of that in there. So we'll still keep this kind of, you know, thumb shape going on. You know, as I look at my thumb, basically just like that. So I'm copying her shape a little bit. I'm going to play more with her hair. Um, I need to play with her eyes a little bit more too. So she's got a very thin belt. And she's not fat. You know, I'm not playing with that kind of thing. If I wanted to show someone that was overweight, I'd certainly do it with these shapes. This is just the shape language of the, excuse me, of the show. So that's what we're, and I'm going to make that bow like, really play with that bow, like super exaggerated, make it really huge. And I'm drawing these lines here as guides to go by. Maybe make her legs just a little bit longer. Just a tiny, tiny bit longer. Because I'm imagining their knees are right here, where the bottom of their shorts are. Because there's other parts that I really like. So we'll keep the scarf. Maybe make these a little smaller. Maybe that's where her little thumbs up camp logo would be on her little scarf pin. She's got a beady little nose, so we're going to play with that. Think of the shape of a bean. And I need to play more to the design of the other characters. So she's got a line for a mouth that extends beyond her lips, and that doesn't jive with the other characters, so I need to play with that a little more. She's got a jutting jaw, which I like that. That's cool. That gives her more attitude, you know? That looks like a tooth. I don't want it to be a tooth. I don't know, maybe I do. That'd be fun. No. Probably in the color. Let me make it darker. There we go. Maybe she's not allowed to wear lipstick at home. That could be a thing. Alright, so she's got bangs, which I kind of roughed out here, but I need to maybe really play with that shape more. You know, maybe she's got this thing where she was a childhood beauty pageant, like those that show about the pageant moms, and you know, I can't remember what the name of that one little girl was that Honey Boo Boo. Here comes Honey Boo Boo. Yeah, like so you've got that kind of attitude. That would be, you know, maybe she grew up, didn't achieve the fame that she wanted, and now she's an assistant counselor at a camp in the Everglades. And we're just roughing the shine in her hair. There's something to said about actually not having her eyes there at all. Like maybe she's like the sheepdog from the old Warner Brothers cartoons where you lift up the hair and you see the eyes. But at least for here, I'm gonna just put them in. Like I said, lost and found lines, so I'm leaving some of that open. Yeah, she's got good attitude. I'm liking this a lot. This is what character development really is. So you've got a base design that I really like, but you either really change it harshly, or you really exaggerate what's there and really see how far you can push it before you lose the language and the connection that her design has to the other parts of the show. But I think right now it's happening really nicely. Yeah, she's got this gorgeous bow that she's super proud of. Never goes anywhere without it. But that's like, maybe that's a remnant of her pageant days or something on the stage as a in the toddler pageants. Maybe it was, instead of Honey Boo Boo, it was, Terry Bobo, because she's wearing a bow. I mean, it's little things like that that you're coming up with while you're drawing that add to a character so well. Yeah, she's doing really nice. This would be a character I would love to see run across the screen, and it would be really funny, I think. Again, pancake feet. And I'm going to cheat a little bit because I actually like the way I drew her feet over here, so I'm just going to copy and paste instead of having to redraw it, because they came out so nice that I don't want to mess around too much with that. I really, it gets the idea of the character I want really well. And I got the angle like perfect, and it's such a hard thing. You still sometimes have a hard time drawing feet. It's just one of my things. Also, don't like drawing horses. Have a horrible time drawing horses. Every artist has their weakness, and that's mine. Feet I can get around. Horses, it's just hard. And Clip Studio Paint has this thing where you can angle the drawing like this, so I don't have to turn my hand in a weird way to get an angle. And I'll give her a little bit of shading like I did the other characters too. And she's still got a little bit of roundness to her. She's not completely evil, I would say. Yeah, it does, doesn't it? The whole arms. I haven't added her arms yet, so yeah, it looks like she's got her arms behind her and she's holding up the cape. That'd be a great visual for her pageant days. That'd be really funny. So as I continue to edit around and maybe shrink that ever so slightly, bump it over a little bit so it looks like it's more behind her and going off in the distance. There we go. And I'll get rid of these extra lines here. I don't know where those came from. Probably when I was playing with the layers. Yeah, it's almost like, she's holding them up like this, and yeah, I see what you're saying. But she's the kind of person that you'd see her put her arms out like this and crack her knuckles, like, before she goes into the camps, like the campers' actual cabins, to like wake them up or something like that. It'd be really funny. But I'll keep her little clipboard because that does show kind of some authority. She's got a schedule. The director wants her to maintain a schedule, and she doesn't really know that he's evil. Maybe she finds out later on and joins him, or turns out to be a good guy. Maybe she's got, like I said last week, a redemption arc where she turns out to be not as evil as she appears to be. Maybe the kids find out about her tragic backstory of, going to the pageants and then not getting that career that she always wanted or thought she deserved, and have some compassion for her. All right, let's get rid of a little bit of these lines so I've got some room to play. And I'll keep the short sleeves going on because it's Florida. It's hot. You're not going to have long sleeves in Florida. Those of you that are watching that are friends of mine or that live in Florida, shadow underneath. And that's an awfully big bow. Let me flip that. She's a little wonky. Let's fix some of that. And that bow looks really wrong the way I did the smaller bow, so I need to fix that. So let me skew her again. And these are really great little fixes. I don't want to lose her angle. Like that's not what I'm doing that for. Because she's got this great curve. And I don't want to lose that. But I am going to use that edit function and play with her bow a bit. I'll do a free transform on it, that way I can maneuver it wherever I want. Free transform is fun, but it will do some really bad things if you don't know what you're doing with it. Actually, I need to take this down a little bit. That's what's bothering me. It's a little too much. A little bit too much. There we go. Yeah, so, okay. Yeah, she's sufficiently, and I think I'll actually do a little bit of a dark line here. So here's what I do when I'm doing an underdrawing. Like, so this rough sketch of her would be an underdrawing, and I'll pick like a darker pencil or another tool that's similar on here. Dark pencil seems to work very well for me. So, and I'll create another layer above her. And I'll look for that. I want it still sketchy. Actually, you know what? I'm going to keep the pencil rough. I want it still sketchy, but it needs to be just a little cleaner. The line quality. Maybe she's got eyeshadow. Oh, yeah. Like I said, older teen. She's got the eyeshadow going on. I don't want to put lashes, just the eyeshadow. I don't want to take it too far. Let's take that line and give it a little bit of definition for the bangs. I don't want her hair. This hair looks really messy over here on the right. I don't want it to look that messy. I want it to look like she's got a little bit more pride. She's not like muscle, you know, evil. She outthinks everyone. She's very smart. She's very devious. In her own way. Like I said, she's not evil. Just had some experiences along the way that have a little shine in the eye too. I like to put a shine in the eye, that little specular kind of light. Disney does that a lot. So even though she's evil, she's got a little bit of a. I'm gonna leave the bridge of her nose out. I like that line missing because your eye puts it in for you. Oh yeah, that thing, the bow going through the swamp with the dampness of the swamp would be really funny. Imagine her in an airboat with that thing flying behind her. See, that's another character I can create too, is the boat driver, the guy that would normally drive the bus to a camp. You know, he'd be like my version of Otto, you know, from The Simpsons or something, but without the drugs. It's a kid's show. And I lost some of her chin there when I did that. I don't like that. I like a little bit of. That's what you got to be careful when you're doing the tights. This kind of overdrawing on a tight sketch is you're going to lose some of the integrity and the really cool stuff he had if you're not careful. Maybe her mom comes to visit, and her mom is like the pageant moms, and she's completely a freak about, you know. She's got the big Texas hair. Maybe this little girl's from Texas. That's what it is. She's got the big Texas hair, the big Tammy Faye hair. Yeah, there we go. Maybe one of the secret things she does is still doing some of the routines, like the music section of her pageant tryout or something like that. and the kids catch her doing it, or something really funny, or a dance routine where she's dressed up like a swan from Swan Lake or something like that she had to do for a pageant. That would be epically funny for a sight gag in this thing. Always thinking of stuff like that when it comes to characters. What weird situations can I put them into, or habits can I give them that adds to the personality that you're already developing visually, and how can you bring that through visually? How do you make that work? Yeah, this one looked like she's angry that there's a better design of her now. Maybe she's got a crush on, like, there's another counselor who's like a really cute guy, you know, counselor, and he's like super popular looking, and she's got a huge crush on him, but she'll never admit to it. You know, that'd be a lot of fun. So, like I said, I'm cleaning the lines up, but I'm still making them. I'm still keeping them sketchy. It's not a finalized line. All right, just got about a half hour to go. Yeah, I think I'll have just enough time to get her done and do some shade on her. And I'm looking for ways to simplify the lines I've already put down too, because I don't want to overcomplicate the character to the point that it's hard to animate. Because I got to look at budget, and I got to look at things like that too. How much does it cost to do this stuff for the company that's making it, and how can I keep the character interesting but try and keep the cost down? It's very important. It's funny, I always draw characters like they're wearing Chucks. It's the most iconic tennis shoe, kind of, you know, sneaker tennis shoe kind of thing. And I can't wear them. Chucks are for people with flat feet, you know, flatter feet, because they have no arch support, and they just destroy my ankles and my feet. I can't wear them. I wish I could. I love the way they look, and I love the fact you can wash them. But I can't wear them. My wife can wear them, and I'm kind of jealous. And she's too cool for socks, so I'm not going to put socks on her, at least not right now. Little hinted buttons. Alright, let's get on that bow. Keeping that line, going by the definitions that I've laid down, but keeping the line as simple as I can. A little less angular. It was a little too harsh. There we go. Yeah, playing with that, like, you got this tiny little bow, and now you've got one that looks like horns. So it adds a lot more to her character as far as, like, being just not nice. Not, like I said, not necessarily a villain. More like Squidward from SpongeBob. He's not a villain. He's somewhat of a protagonist, but he is her campers would be the bane of her existence, kind of thing. For those that know SpongeBob, like, Squidward is you know, he's got all these dreams of all these artistic things he wants to do, but you know what? I did that weird thing there. And SpongeBob always ruins it. You know, he wants to be this famous clarinet player, and SpongeBob ruins it. He always does. Alright, so I'm going to put a layer behind that, and I'll give her... I'll pick my newsprint brush up that I used last week, and I'll use it in a layering effect, because it layers on itself. I love that, and it gives you that... I'll zoom in a minute, and I'll show you the texture it gives you. It's not my brush. I didn't create it. It's created by an acquaintance of mine who he and a friend of his, another acquaintance of mine, run a company called Creature Box, and they're professional character designers. And he runs a live stream called Lost Bear Studios, and he gave away these brushes, and I had to try them, and man, I'm using them for everything now. They're just awesome. And they've got this great texture where it looks like wet newsprint, and it's really fun. And I think you can go to his live streams and still download them if you have Clip Studio Paint. It does not work in Photoshop. I don't use Photoshop to draw with a lot. I won't go into why again. I kind of went over that last week. But I use it for color correction. But I heard a rumor that Clip Studio Paint is soon going to be able to take Photoshop brushes, which will eliminate like 95% of my need for Photoshop. Because I use it for the effects brushes and things like that, and for color correction, and I can still use it for color correction. But if I've got the brushes in this program, I don't need to open up Photoshop to do a lot of the stuff that I would normally do before. I don't worry, I'm going to put the shine back in. I just have to do what's called a paint through on it so the shine stands out more. So you see how this is still loose and sketchy, but it's got better definition than the one that I did before. So same brush, this kind of newsprint, wet newsprint with the white, so it's layering on top of itself for that shine on the bangs. I can do these lovely little tiny marks and go as lighten up as I go. So it looks almost wet and shiny, which is the way I want to go. So pick a different gray. We'll go keep with the newsprint, but I'll go with a darker newsprint, which is just on this brush it makes it more intense. So I'm going to watch how hard I'm pressing on the screen, because this is a Wacom Cintiq. It does sense how hard I'm pushing, and it changes the density of the brush the harder I push. So I'm very practiced at keeping my hand as even as possible. Maybe I'll give it polka dots too while I'm at it. I'll do it with a lighter color. It seems kind of cliche though. I don't want to do stripes because then that has to follow the folds a lot more closely. So we're getting this kind of laid in. Yeah, okay, now I'll go with a lighter color in. Yeah, it's cliche, but I don't care. Could make them flowers. Real easy. Sometimes cliche works. And I don't care if I go outside of the lines. Like for those that are younger that are like, oh crap, you know, he's going outside the lines. I don't care. It's about getting the idea across. I'm not worried as much about neatness as I am about how clear is the idea, how clear is this character being portrayed. So you've basically got this semi-antagonist slash protagonist. She kind of rides the line in the middle. Oh yeah, the polka dots are working. She's rocking those polka dots. And she's pretty well designed. I'll do a little bit of make a little flower. Or maybe not on all of them, maybe just on some of the dots. So some of them are polka dots and some of them are flowers. You've seen patterns like that. Kind of spread it around a little. A little random kind of. Be hilarious if when her mom visits, she's wearing a muumuu style dress that's the same as the pattern on her bow. Like it came from the shower, like the home, like window curtains or something. Alright, let's go with a lighter color. Actually, let me select the color from over here because this color really works well. Color pickers as a tool work great. So, find that right there it is. Okay, and I'll go with the half dark brush. Make the brush just a little bit bigger. I'm going to leave her very pale. I'm not going to give her a tone to her skin. Because I did 2 African American characters in the last one, and I gave them darker skin tone to match, and I want her to be in contrast. So it's not a racist thing, it's just I want the characters to be distinct, and this is more recognizable. Give her some dark shoes, maybe give her like black chucks. Darken that board a little bit. And I'm doing it in gray because I'm not worried about color yet. I'm more worried about design than I am color. It's not about the color. Maybe throw some stuff on here for. She's got a list. A little check mark thing going on. Oh yeah, the pencil. Forgot all about the pencil. I love that pencil. Gotta do the pencil. Go back up. This is an easy fix. And I'm doing this thing. There's a transparency section right here below my two colors that basically turns any brush you're working with into an eraser. And I love it. I absolutely love it. It's just indispensable. I learned how to do that from experimentation. That's the best way I can put it. Let's shrink that way down. There we go. I did forget to... Let me erase that line right there. Nope. Let me go to my rough pencil, the transparency. And I also have the transferring between these two colors and that transparency. It's keyed into my stylus here. I've got buttons on here that I can click it once and it'll switch the color for me. Click the bottom button and it'll switch down to the transparency. Yeah, it is a little dangerous looking, I'll admit. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with the dangerous pencil. Yeah, I love a good sharp pencil, you know? I mean, I'm an artist. You are too, you know. Let me... Yeah, oh, and her freckles, which I'm going to do with tone, because if I do freckles too dark with a pencil, it looks like she's got zits. I don't want that. It's not what I'm going for. Go back to the newsprint. Go with a really medium color, and that's not dark enough. Let me... There we go. Now I can play with it better. Maybe she's got some around her nose too. Now she's got dark hair here, but I could turn that to like a redhead really quick, and that would be really funny, wouldn't it? I mean, that would be really, really great. All right. So, yeah, see, the changes to her are very subtle, and that's what I'm going for with her, because her base design was very good, but it needed a certain amount of punching up, so she's a more defined character. So now when I drop her down here next to Veni, it's a bit more believable. I'm probably going to drop her size down a little bit as well. Let me collapse these layers. So I'm going to get rid of that rough underneath her because she works fine without it. Collapse the layer onto the shade layer. There we go. And then drop her ever so slightly down so she matches her original size better. There we go. She is much older than the other kids, like than Donna or Veni, but she's small for her age, so she's a small little powerhouse of anger, if you will. So yeah, let me notate her so I keep all this straight and together. Let me move her over a little bit. Just writing myself little notes so I remember stuff, like as far as names go. If I haven't worked on a character in a while, I just need the name there, and with an E. I'll just say temperamental, angsty assistant counselor. Because that's where she is. So we've got her here. Let's see how she measures up. Let me take him. Bear with me while I mess around with my... Oops. keep these. All right. I'm gonna make sure his size is right. Yeah, he needs to be a pretty big guy. I want to be level, and he's got his little ice cream that he's dripped everywhere. So, and this is by no means their final designs. That's the funny thing about this. One thing I'm contemplating doing is once we've got a design almost all the way done, I might scrap the entire thing and start over, because that's exactly what a client will do. A director will say, okay, we're deleting that character, we're changing their entire look. Change it. And it's up to me to figure it out. So, might do that just to show you. You might be in love with the character and the design, but sometimes you have to, like I said last time, sometimes you have to murder your darlings, the stuff that these designs that you really love, in order for the benefit of the entire project. You can keep the design for yourself. That's fine. I'm not getting rid of it, but it won't be used in the show. I'd have to start over again and do it twice as fast. So let's see. Okay, let's move Edsel over. I'm just trying to keep everything. Yeah, his size is correct. I'll keep the adults up here for the most part, and the teenagers to kids down here. Edsel, the zombie needs to be a little bit bigger than him. Yeah. Oop. Yep. A little bit bigger than Edsel. But Edsel's a pretty tall dude. There's invisible layers in there that keep getting selected. There we go. Okay. Yep. Okay. And I'm always, I'm like I said, I'm scanning everything to make sure everything is still flowing together, all the designs still work together. Yeah, that pencil could be Yondu's arrow. That's just true. Make sure I've got the right layer. Yeah, let me drop her down to a shade layer too. There we go. Okay. So there's Donna. Let me put her here. Put Terrian over here. Yeah, you see, so Donna is, and actually I'm going to make her just a touch bigger. Yeah. There we go. So, two of the kids, Vinny and Donna, they are, Donna's been there. She's a few years older than Vinny, but she's still technically going to the camp as a child. And we'll bring in the director now and see what he looks like. I keep forgetting to do that. Yeah, his size is right. Might make him a little bigger. And they go together pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, that everything seems to be forming pretty well. He might be a little too complicated, and that might be another further design we'll do maybe next time. Actually, still got 20 minutes. Let me play with him a little bit more. Leave Vinny up. Get rid of Terrian. Go for the director, and I'll add another layer. Make it a group. And that might be like director something is his name, director, and give him some kind of really sinister name. I'll play with that some more. Okay, so I'm gonna lighten him, but I'm not gonna do what I just did with the sketches. I'm gonna do a little bit of the smoothing. I'm gonna keep his body the way it is because I really like it, but maybe give him a flat head since everybody else. His head is a little too weird. I mean, the whole thing is weird, but his head is a little bit too weird, and maybe go a little lighter on the wrinkles. Yeah. The flat head, I'll push the comb over more. I've kept his ears a little bit more pointy because that's another thing with angles that I talked about with the shape language. Sorry, I was drawing too far away. I do that sometimes. My apologies. Lost and found lines. I'm going to keep that nose very simple because all the other characters have very simple noses. Yep. Keeping the characters within the same design language helps the integrity of the show. You want the show to have integrity, meaning that it holds together on its own. There isn't one part, that's going to make it fall apart. You want no weak links with your design. Yeah, that's much better. Little line here, little line there. Little tiny upturned smirk. Yeah. Yeah, there we go. He was a little too jowly for me. Before he seems more along the lines of designs of characters. So this line basically free forms down there like that, or flows down there like that. Pardon me. And he looked a little bit too much like this curved, and that was his cheek. And I didn't necessarily mean for that to happen. So about 15 more minutes. Now I'm going to do something that's going to make some of you gasp. With surprise, I don't know, maybe. I'm going to take that entire bottom design and delete it. Or the entire part that I just covered up. Because it wasn't working. Much better. Let's bring that back up. Yes, that is working much, much better. Now he's not an angry next door neighbor, a grumpy next door neighbor, and he's not like unfitting for the show as far as his design goes. He's a lot more sinister. A little bit kind of like, for those that watched the TV show, the old TV show on Cartoon Network from the cartoon section called Powerpuff Girls. A little bit like Mojo Jojo. He was this lab monkey that got loose that turned out to be an evil genius, and because of the experiments on him, and he was this little dude with a big forehead, and it worked. Not that this guy is the same. This guy, maybe he sold auto parts, and he stumbled onto like some kind of manuscript or something that led him to buy this camp, or it was left to him in a will, and I'm gonna give him some sideburns that'll work. I like that a lot. It was left to him, and I like the idea of it left to him in a will. And he's discovering all these things, and he inherited this, this kind of evil genius that his great uncle had, or something like that. Yeah, and I'll throw some sketch lines back in there just so it maintains its sketchiness. I know I got friends that really love the sketchiness of some of my stuff, so I'll make sure some of the drawings maintain that. Let's keep that specular highlight right there over to the other side. Yes, much better, friends. Yes, that is much better. Okay, liking that a lot. I'll mention this too before we end tonight. If you're in Orlando and you're not afraid to go out, because I understand, given the situation we're in and everything, people being careful. I do have my first event all year long, indoor event, I should say. It's a pop-up event held by Spooky Empire. It's down at the Wyndham Orlando on I-Drive in Sand Lake. If you would like to come out and see some really great, it's more Halloween oriented than anything, but I'll be there, and I've got other stuff than that, of course. But if you're there, come by and say hi, buy some art, check out what I got. I got art books and originals, and it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really excited, and it's going to be back in show mode. So I've got all my stuff out in the hallway, packed and ready to go. I got to load up my car tomorrow, and it starts Saturday, but I got to set up my space tomorrow. And I always do a really spectacular detailed job setting up my space so it's themed like you go to Disney World or something. So if you're there, I welcome you to stop by. Social distancing measures will be maintained. I will be wearing gloves, mask, the whole thing. You know, I'll make sure it's as clean as possible. Booths are spaced out apart. There's only a certain amount of people let into the building at a time. So, you know, come on out. If you're too afraid to, you know, you want to maintain that distance, I totally get it. And I'm not going to rag on you for it. I'm not going to do it. But I will be wearing a mask. And trying to keep it safe. So yeah, he's working. He's working. We put some hair on the back of his neck. How about that? I like that. Make him look creepy. You know. Yeah, that's pretty. I like that a lot. That's working for me now. That's really working for me now. Move him back over here. Turn on the other characters. Yes, that is working much better for me now. Okay, let me turn off Terry-Ann, Donna. Play with the director's size a little bit more. I'm gonna have to make my canvas bigger. We'll do one thing real quick. Let me create a baseline for them all to stand on. And that basically, I start with a mark and I hold down the shift key and I can draw a straight line. Oop. And I wasn't holding the shift key. There it is. Okay. Boom. Do the same thing over here for the kids. Just so I've got a place for them to go. And then I'm going to take and do something to each group and make it multiply so that it basically turns all the white areas transparent so that you can see what's underneath them. I draw that way a lot too. There we go. Okay. And Donna, she's multiplied, so let's drop her down just a little bit. And then last, of course, but not least, is Venny. And we'll multiply him. That way you can see the line and everybody's standing on the line. That's the point of reference. That's the control line for the height for everybody that you can compare with. And I might take and keep some of the same design elements of the director's head, but make him kind of thin and tall. And then that may change how I do the zombie, make him like more wide and big, just a really big dude. Because I want him to stand out. And I think he's a good start, but I think he could be a bit more of a pear-shaped and more tubby at the bottom. He eats a lot of ice cream. I mean, come on. So, okay, so this is where we stand right now. Maybe next week I'll change it up and work on some of the background stuff just for fun. There's a bunch more characters that I have planned to draw, but I don't want it to be weeks and weeks and weeks on end of characters before I start doing backgrounds and things like that. I want to change it up and give you guys variety. And it will be in the session title for each, and some people call them episodes. I'm calling these sessions because we're sitting down and it's a session of drawing. So I'll probably end it there. It's probably a good time to stop, but you guys have been great. Thank you so much for watching this. If you would give the video a like, subscribe to the channel. That way you can keep up with what's going on. And we'll maybe work on buildings or vehicles or animal characters next week. I'll see. I'm going to sit and think about it. I've got the show to do on Saturday and Sunday, so I'm going to be focused on that. And this will be a nice thing to get back to on Thursday. So keep me in your thoughts and prayers for this weekend, for a successful weekend. It's been a long year without a show. And I'm looking forward to it. So thank you guys for joining in. Again, remember, when you're watching the video, you can ask me questions in the live chat, and if I remember to look over, I got to remember to do that more often, but when I remember to look over, I will answer them as best I can, especially if you're younger and you have questions about being an artist or being what I am, a character designer, and what that means in the process of animation and how a show gets done. I'll be more than happy to talk about that. So you guys have a great night, and I will be seeing you soon. Peace out, and God bless.